Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back as always to another video where today I want to talk about a little bit of Deadlock and some of the nice beginner tips that I've learned playing the 30 or 40 hours or so of Vindicta thus far. So let's jump right into it. So the first tip that I want to talk about is that fire rate equals damage per second. Some of the best items that you can buy as Vindicta are items that increase her fire rate. And that's because when you buy items from the weapon tree, which is where most of the items that increase your fire rate are coming from, you automatically, based on what tier it is, get a passive increase to your weapon damage. And then the higher fire rate only compounds on this. So let's say, for an example, you're doing 100 damage per second, 100 DPS. The 12% increase to your fire rate brings you up to 112 DPS, because even though you're not doing more damage with your bullets, you're getting more bullets downrange to do more damage. And then on top of that, you get a 11% increase to your weapon damage for buying an item in the second tier, and that gives you 124 DPS just from boosting your fire rate by 12%. And so while that 25% damage increase for one card is very, very enticing, you cannot be blinded by weapon items only. And there's our second tip. Make sure you're buying things that are not just weapon damage. Extra charge and improved cooldown are two of those, which are very important for playing around Vindicta's flight and her ultimate ability. The extra charge will give you an extra shot with her ability, and the improved cooldown will give you more abilities to use your flight, which is your damage buffing ability. Next up is Leech. This is an insanely important item for me in the late game, which converts a lot of the late game slogs into a win, at least for me personally on an individual level, which obviously helps our team. And at the end of the game, this can make you almost unkillable in a one-on-one fight if you're taking it properly. If you see at this fight with Grey Talon, look at my health bar. He's doing damage to me, but not in a way that is countering the amount of damage that I am getting back from shooting him. It is an insane amount of damage Vindicta is able to put down range that if you're in a one-on-one fight, your enemy is almost certainly not going to be able to match. And so now let's talk quick about one-on-one fights and fights in general, and that's to our tip 3, never take a fight without advantage. And this is a real big carryover tip from my days in Counter-Strike, or I'm sure that if you've played other video games, other competitive video games, other YouTubers have drilled this into you already. But you need to do something before you start fighting to swing the tides in your favor. And that might be a few things. The enemy might have lower health than you. You might not need to do that to start. The enemy has significantly lower soul count, or there's an allied hero with you, a 2-on-1. It's very simple. So you need to be doing something to make sure that there is a advantage to you or your team before you begin the fight. And that's because we all know how quickly video games and things like that can change and how quickly someone can go across the map by ziplining. You want to make sure that if the advantage or the landscape of the fight changes, it's not changing from fair fight to disadvantage on your behalf. You want to make sure it's changing from disadvantage on their behalf to a fair fight, and then it's up to you and your skills to be able to defeat the other player. That's what you're looking for in terms of having an advantage. And so those are some great things to be looking out for if you are looking to engage the enemy. But let's talk about now not engaging the enemy. What are some things you should be looking out for so that you don't take those fights? If you're both low HP, Vindicta, it's very easy to fall into, I can just damage this guy faster than that. You don't want to be doing that. Or if you have to chase after the target. The reasoning for both of these is pretty much the same. And that's because if you are chasing after the target or you have low HP, it's very easy for a second player to come around the corner or for you to run into a tower without realizing, and then all of a sudden the turntables have flipped, and that's probably going to wind up in you dying when the advantage is back in their favor if they're playing under the tower or they suddenly run into another allied player. Then you've got to take on two players, one of them's full HP, one of them's half. You're going to die 100% of the time, even if you do get lucky and get the other person. The third one is that if the enemy is playing alongside their wave and you're playing in front of yours, while this isn't really that big of a deal, especially in the late game, they are not insignificant, and those candles will be doing damage to you, and if the healing one is there, they're going to be healing your enemy, and that is just another tiny little drop in the bucket of advantage for your opposing team, and it's a very easy one and very frequent one that you can avoid taking part in. The fourth tip that I see basically everybody doing that is very important for Vindicta players specifically is using your abilities incorrectly. As Vindicta, you need to be using your abilities to kill and not initiate combat. Look around the games that you're in right now, and I promise, multiple times a game, you will see someone initiate combat with their ability. That is not the right idea, especially with Vindicta, because Vindicta, I think it even says this in her character tooltip, is very talented at taking down half health or lower enemies, finishing off the wounded. Many players, to give themselves the advantage that we talked about earlier, are going to use their abilities as fast as they can to turn the tide very quickly back into their advantage if they feel like they're at a disadvantage. This is the wrong thing to do because ultimately you're not that desperate to the point where you need to use it to either keep yourself alive or kill the enemy. So let's look at the flip side of that coin, right? Viscous is, you and Viscous are in a one-on-one, you're battling each other, and you get each other down to about half HP. Viscous isn't still very concerned because you still look like you're in a very fair fight. This is where Vindicta really shines, is taking your enemy down from wounded to nothing. Viscous commits to the fight because he sees that you're low HP. Now, since you still have your full arsenal in your bag, you can activate your flight, start putting some real big damage numbers onto him, gets him down to a quarter, he starts running away, you tether him, starts running away even more, he goes into his green ball, and then you can hit him with the ultimate to finish him off. The ultimate is the best thing you can be doing to finish off your enemies. It's a op from Counter-Strike. It's fantastic. You are going to secure a lot more kills this way than trying to use your abilities to win the fight early on and then having to do the real heavy lifting after it's all over and you don't have any abilities and you're low on health. You will find yourself dying quite a bit if you play that way. And then finally, guys, if I can give you one final tip, with the voice crack, it's that voice cracks never stop happening no matter how old you get, and that tethers are very, very good for getting away. You can use the tether as you're running away to stop your enemy in your tracks and be able to get around a corner and jump onto the zip line. So I encourage you to use the tether as well if you're ever in a pinch and need to escape. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed and find some use out of these Vindicta tips. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you let me know in the comments, and so that I will keep making more Deadlock stuff. Want us to make a video for your favorite character? Let me know in the comments. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.